Our first comparison between the two platforms are going to be how I, as a teacher, can create a class. On the left side of my screen is Google Classroom. On the right side of my screen is Buzz. In Google Classroom, to create a class, I go up to my plus sign. I click on Create a Class. I provided a class name, and I can fill out the rest of the information if I want to, and then I can press Create. In Buzz, I can go up here to my white square. I'm going to click on Create a Course. I'm going to create new. I'm also going to call this one English 8. And I'm going to press Create. And there's my English 8 right here. So very similar in the instance of being able to create my classroom. Next up, we're going to look at how we can customize our course settings between the two platforms. Going into Google Classroom here, to access my class settings, I'm going to go up to my upper right and I'm going to click on my cog. Here are my class details. I've got some general information, and then I've got my grading categories. In Buzz, same thing. I'm going to go up to my upper right. I'm going to click on my white wrench, and here are my course settings. So just like in Google Classroom, class details just looks a little different. I've got general information, and then I have my grading. In grading categories, all right, in Classroom, I need to choose my overall grade calculation, and I only have 3 options. I have no overall grade, total points, or weighted by category. So I'm going to choose weighted by category. Then I can choose to say I want to show kids their overall grades, and I want this clicked on. And now I need to add my grading categories. So to add my grading categories in Google Classroom, I'm just going to click Add a Grading Category, and I'm going to add participation. Now everybody has their own kind of categories and what they use, so everybody's a little different. I'm going to add homework, if I could spell it correctly. Projects, and then lastly I'm going to add quizzes. All right, and then in Classroom, that's it. Those are the only things I am able to customize in my course settings. So coming over to Buzz, all right, over in my grading categories, same thing. I already have 2 that I've already set up to save us some time. So to add 2 more grading categories, just like I did in Classroom, I'm going to click on Add a Grading Category. I'm going to call this one Projects. I'm going to say it's 25. And you're going to notice in Buzz too, I have more options in how to display the score for my students. So I can even show them the minutes they've spent, and I can also see the minutes they've spent on, oops, I guess I don't want projects, I want quizzes. I can see the minutes that they've spent on everything. All right, so simple, easy, same as Google Classroom. Some other options that Buzz does afford me though is I can actually set a passing score, and I can set what I want my grading scale to look like. I can also choose between how I want my course grade to be viewed by my students, which is sometimes nice, especially if you're high school and middle school. You know, we tend to do things a little different sometimes between points and percentages. And then I also have my grading periods. So kids can see what they're receiving each quarter, similar to what they do in school tools. So ultimately, my course settings are set for both, and I'm going to click Save, and I'm going to click Save. And that was the course settings for each platform. Our next task is how do we manage multiple classes? You're going to notice over on my left side, which is my Google Classroom, I have 3 English 8 courses, and they're all divided up between my periods. Over on my right-hand side, I have an English Master course, but then I just have one English Miss Prince course, and all of my students for all of my periods are in this one course. So how does this work in managing these courses? If I go to create a course in my Google Classroom, I'm going to enter it. I'm going to go over to classwork, and I'm going to click create. I'm going to click create a quick assignment. Now, if I want to push this to multiple courses, I can go over here and I'm going to click on English 8, English 8 again, and English 8. And then it gets assigned to all of my students. In Buzz, which is on my right-hand side, I go into my editor. And really all I need to do is simply create my assignment. And press save. This is actually getting pushed out to every single period that I teach. So I don't have to worry about pushing it to other classes that my students are in, because my students are in one class and they're all divided up between my periods. If I go to my gradebook in Buzz and I turn on my filtering, when I go to groups, you're going to notice I now have a period 1, which has my period 1 students, and I have a period 2 class that has my period 2 students. But to push an assignment, I'm just creating it once, and I don't have to worry about if I'm clicking every single class I'm on to create this assignment in my other courses. Now we're going to create the experience where each student gets their own copy of a Google document. So in this case, I'm going to press create. I'm going to do assignment again. I'm going to call this anatomy of a Dropbox 2. And these are my instructions. And then I can click my Google Drive. I'm going to go get that. I want to set this now where each student can make their own copy. Then I'm going to go over to my settings. So I'm going to say, again, category is now homework because they're turning something in. My due date is the 27th still. And then I'm done and I'm going to press assign. So then I'm going to go over to Buzz and I'm going to create the same thing. So I'm going to go to add activity. You're going to notice Buzz has many more activities that you can actually choose from. So it gives you freedom and the ability to be able to create different types of assignments for your students. So I'm going to click assignment. I'm going to call it the same thing I just did in Google Classroom. Here are my instructions. So you're going to notice in Buzz, I also have a toolbar when I'm creating my instructions, so I can highlight things for students who may need words that are popping out to them. I can change my color font. I can change my font and the size of my font if I need to for students. So if I have students who are having difficulty reading things, I have the ability to do that. There's an equation editor for math teachers. I can create tables. So I have a lot more freedom in some aspects of how I want to create my instructions and what I would like those to look like. So I'm going to go to settings and I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to create, in this instance, it's called a document template. It's going to ask me to choose the template that I want to share with my students. I'm going to go find that anatomy of a Dropbox that I just put into my Google Classroom. There it is. I'm going to press select. All right. And there I have it. So now I'm just going to do the same thing I did in Google Classroom, my due date. I'm going to allow late submissions because Buzz does allow me to do that. I've got my grade book set up. I want this to be homework, okay? My percentage is already set for me in Buzz, so I don't have to worry about touching any of that. And now I can press save. So now my students have the ability to have the same exact assignment in Google Classroom as they are getting within the Buzz platform. So now I want to create an assessment. All right, I need to test my students. So in Classroom, this is where I'm going to do a quiz assignment. And in Buzz, I just clicked an assessment. So I'm going to title this. And my instruction is take your time and and do your best. Okay. I want to do a blank quiz right now. And yeah, I want to lock my Chromebooks and I'm going to do my settings. So now I have to actually click this to create my class. So I'm going out of Classroom into a Google form. And here's my Macbeth quiz. Oops. A little glitchy. All right, so take your time and do your best. All right, so now I can add my questions. I have all of these options to be able to add a question. So I'm going to do the same thing over in Buzz, my Macbeth quiz. My instructions are going to be the same. You're going to notice in Buzz, I still have the ability for instructions, even in a quiz, to give them a video, a table, anything like that. So now I'm going to go over to questions, and I can actually build my assessment right within Buzz. I don't have to go outside of it. So here are the options I have in Google Forms. Here are my options in Buzz that I can actually choose and I can use, okay? So I'm going to choose multiple choice, multiple choice. My question is, who starts the play? Macbeth. Add an option, Lady Macbeth or the witches. All right. So I can add an image for my answer over here if I want to, okay? In here, I can go to a description, I can shuffle. You're going to notice, though, I don't really have a way to add feedback to the students. And I'm going to click for my answer key. My answer is the witches, and now I can add my feedback. Try again. And then I can edit this too. So for my correct answer, great job. All right. In Buzz, I'm going to do the same question. So again, in Buzz, you're going to notice I have options for when I create my question. I can bold, I can highlight, I can play with my text, I can add videos and images to my question if I want to. And I didn't have those options when I was creating the question at least, in Google. So I'm going to say Macbeth. I'm going to say Lady Macbeth. And I'm going to add a choice and, say the witches. All right, so you're going to notice I actually had to, in the form, click on answer key in order to indicate my answer and provide feedback. And I'm going to have to actually click required to make sure my kids take this test and answer this question. In Buzz, I don't need to click anything on the bottom. I'm just going to say, yep, it's the witches. Oops. And then over here on my 3 dots, I can actually say, and now I want to add feedback. You're also going to notice when I do feedback in Buzz, I can toggle answers in place, which is going to feed into when I show you settings. In settings for Buzz, I can choose to randomize my questions and my answers. And when I toggle something in place, that means if I give them like 4 options and then my 5th option is all of the above is actually going to stay at the bottom and it's not going to go to the top. So I can actually create one of those. So I'm going to do a plus and I'm going to say, who are characters in Macbeth? And again, I'm just going to say Macbeth. Lady Macbeth, and the witches. And then I'm going to add all of the above, and I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to say toggle and lock position. All right. The other thing that Buzz affords me too is I can give overall feedback for this question. So instead of giving feedback for each individual answer, I can say overall, if you had read the play, you would know. So I have that ability. And then to change my points up here, I can change them as simply as this. I want it to be a 1, I want it to be a 2. If I decided, you know what, I don't want this to be multiple choice, I kind of want it to be multiple answer, I can do it. You're going to notice that I didn't lose my question. It just goes to the next kind of question I want to ask. So over here, I would then go and I would say, I'm going to create another one. And I'm going to do the same one. Who are characters in Macbeth? All right. So now if I want this to be a multiple answer, again, I'd have to do check boxes. So I can do that. I can say multiple choice, and then I go to my answer key, and I'm going to say they're all correct, and then I'm done. You're going to also notice in your answer key, this is where you're going to add your points. So I added my points here, and here I'm just going to add it here, then click done, and it goes away for me. So the other thing that I can do is I can import questions here, and this would be importing from a previous form I've done. In Buzz as well, I can import questions from test banks. We have access to all the state questions from Regencies and state tests. I can access from another course that maybe somebody's created. I can access from a third-party vendor. I can access from my course. So I can access any other questions that I want to. I can select individual ones, and then I can drop those also into my test. Okay. So once I've got my test created, all right, I'm then going to go and I'm going to look at my settings. So in forms, as we know, because this is a quiz, I made it a quiz, I locked into place. I can release the grade later or immediately after each submission, and I want respondents to see X, Y, and Z, and then I can press save. You're also going to notice in settings it said that they have to turn on email notifications in order to get notified once it comes in later. So they're going to have to go to Gmail to get that. In Buzz, when I go to settings, all right, I can assign a due date to this, just like I could in Classroom. So there's no difference there. When I go back to Classroom, I should probably call this my Macbeth quiz before I lose it. All right. So I can go back to Classroom. I've got my due date and things like that, just like I do in Buzz. Okay. So again, I'm going to make this due on the 27th. I'm going to allow late submissions. Now, the one thing you're going to notice is I have more control in Buzz than I do in Classroom over how many times my kids can submit. All right. This is on your form, so you can say they can submit once, go back and edit, etc. In Buzz, I can say they get 1 attempt, they get 2 attempts, and then if I give them 2, I have the option of being able to average the 2 scores together. I can even indicate how many questions I want per page, so I can say 1 or 2. I'm going to say 1 right now. I can allow students to save and continue. I can make sure that they're required to answer everything. So in forms, you're going to notice I had to indicate at the bottom here if it was required. So I have to do that for each question, where in Buzz, I can just add it once and I'm done. Buzz, I also get the option of randomizing questions and response orders. You're going to notice in the forms, sorry about that, I don't really have that option where I can shuffle things around, okay? And then I've got my grading categories, just like I do in both platforms. And then I can press save. And I'm going to assign over here. All right, and there's my quiz, and there's my quiz. All right, so very similar functions when you're working with assignments for students and everything. And really, Buzz may have a few more options because they have toolbars. We have access to probably some more test banks than you might in Google because you're dependent on Google Forms. But really, it's the same ease and simplicity in being able to create within both of the platforms. What happens if you make a mistake and you need to go back and you need to edit an assignment? So I'm in my Google Classroom. I just realized I forgot to say I wanted each student to get their own copy. So I need to go back into this assignment. I'm going to say I want to edit. And I want to be able to have students get their own copy. You're going to notice because I already created this assignment, this option is no longer available to me. So I now have to recreate this entire assignment. All right, otherwise I can tweak my instructions, I can add and I can create, and then I can press save. So over in Buzz, if I go to that same assignment, so remember we named these, I can go to edit. I actually have the ability to be able to do anything I want to. So I can go to my settings, which if you remember is where I created my template. I just go to my submission type. I want to switch it. And I'm going to have it be each student gets their own copy of this document. There it is. I'm attaching it. And now each kid's going to get their own copy. So now I just need to press save and I'm done. Where in Classroom, I now have to recreate the wheel. I have to lock everything out and then do it all over again. So what about being able to customize and individually assign tasks to specific students? So let's look at that. In Google Classroom, I'm going to go to Classwork, and I'm actually going to go into a course that I actually have students right now. So I'm going to go to Classes. I think I have 3 students in my English 9. So I'm going to go to Classwork, and I'm going to create an individual assignment for one of my students. And I'm going to click my add to my Google Drive like I've been doing. So in Google, the way they do it is I go to all students and I basically select the one student I want this to go to. I put all my settings in and then I press assign. In Buzz, I have this thing called the clipboard, which is over here. It's a well-hidden secret of Buzz. And when I click on my clipboard, I can actually go find a student, and they're going to be listed here. So I'm going to choose my trainee 8, okay? Now, I can select any kind of activity I want to. I can, just like I did in Google, I can upload, give them a YouTube video, pull from my drive, give them a website link, or I can also give them a rich text activity. The other nice thing that I have in Buzz that I don't necessarily have in Google is I can search a digital library. So if I have something from a third-party vendor, I can actually drop that in for the student, which I'm going to do right now. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to go find my curriculum that I'm looking for. I think I said I was in grade 9. And I have a slew of resources available to me, which is really nice, so I don't have to like get really frustrated when I'm trying to find things that I don't have. I'm going to open my resources. I have supplemental questions, and I'm just really going to click the assignment I want the kid to have. I'm going to copy it in. I want to make this gradable, and then ultimately I'm choosing who it's going to, and I'm going to set the due date. And now I'm going to press assign, and I've now assigned this to my Google Trainee 8. Now, the other thing I can do is send a message. So here's Google Trainee 8. I also want to send a copy of this to me. So I'm going to call this extra credit maybe. I just assigned you some extra credit. And now I can send that to Google Trainee 8, and they're going to be able to pick that up. So different ways of doing it, but both platforms allow for that individualization of assignments and individualization of being able to send messages and announcements to either one specific student or a group of students. Is being able to integrate teaching tools that you may use. So this may go with Edpuzzle, Nearpod, YouTube, any tools that teachers like to be able to use. So I'm going to start in Google Classroom, and in Google Classroom I actually want to put a YouTube video in. So we're going to do Crash Course Macbeth. Alright, I'm going to add something like watch the video, and then I'm going to do an ad. It's going to take me to a YouTube. So I already have my YouTube picked out. So I'm going to choose the, where's my Crash Course? My Crash Course. I'm going to take my URL and I'm going to place it in. And it's going to take it a bit to find it, to insert the video. There it is. And I'm going to add. And I've added a YouTube video for my students. So there it is. Same thing in Buzz. I'm just going to go to add. I can choose directly to do a YouTube video, or I can even embed it in an assignment if I choose to. So I'm going to do the same thing I did in Google Classroom. YouTube video. Title it if it's going to be Crash Course Macbeth. And my URL is this. I'm going to press OK. And now I've got my YouTube video in there. So another tool that teachers like to use is Nearpod. All right, I want to be able to put Nearpod into my course. So in Google Classroom, I'm going to go to Create. I'm going to go to Assignment. And I'm going to go to Add. And I have to do a link. So I need to go to Nearpod. And I need to find my share setting. And I'm going to get the link for this. And then I'm going to take that link and I'm going to put it into my course. So this is my Nearpod. Oops. All right. And that's loading and that's done. And then I'm going to press Assign. So in Google, I have to click Nearpod and it's going to take them out to the Nearpod. In Buzz, however, if I wanted to do the same thing, I can go to Embed Code, go to my Nearpod again. I'm going to take the embed. I'm going to do a medium. I'm going to do a copy. And this is my Nearpod. Oops. I'm going to put the embed code and press OK. And so now what happens is this is actually now embedded the Nearpod into my course. So if I actually go to preview to see what it looks like, it's going to embed it into my course. Sorry, my internet's slow. All right, and there's my Nearpod. So instead of having to go out, my kids can actually go through this and then they can start doing what they need to be able to do. Okay? And they can toggle it and they can do everything that they're supposed to be able to do. So that's putting in some of your integration of your favorite teaching tools and how each platform handles it. Talk a little bit about communication and collaboration within the platform. So we know in both platforms we can add other teachers to our courses. Google allows you to add up to 20 teachers or instructors into a course. And in Buzz, I can add as many as I want to. And I can also control what those other instructors can and cannot do within my classroom. So if they're just in there to observe a student, I can only give them permission to that student, things like that. So there's one piece of it. The other piece of it, as we know, because they're both cloud-based, the access anytime, anywhere applies to both platforms. I don't have to be in school to use either one. And both will work on a tablet, a phone, Chromebook, whatever you have that the kids are using to access the classroom. Both also allow you to share content videos and links, as we just showed with the Nearpod and the crash course videos. And it allows me to communicate with parents and guardians. So in Google, we know that for a parent or a guardian, they can actually get emails. So I'm going to go here to see example. This would be an example of what your parent or guardian would receive. They could do this weekly, where they're getting, hey, this stuff was done, it was due, it was due, but it was turned in, things like that. So they can get this whole email. In Buzz, I'm actually going to go to a test site where I have an account. You can actually provide your parents the ability to see everything that their child can see. So they're not just getting emails, they're actually seeing the curriculum and the content within the platform. So what would happen is that when they log in, they would go to Observer. They would choose their child. And then this is their child. So they're in as their child right now. You're going to notice I'm going to be able to go into this course. And I'm actually going to be able to see everything that the kid has been doing. I can even go to the grade book and see the grades of my student and how my student is doing, if things were submitted late, if they weren't, everything like that. Where in Google Classroom, all they're getting is this one, like this is a summary of what we've done. They aren't really able to go look and see the work that's done unless the student is allowing them to log in with their own credentials into the platform. So that's the big difference between communicating with guardians and parents, okay? Otherwise, in both, you can do announcements. So in Google, I can do an announcement to my classes if I want to and communicate with them. There's a communication. I just go to, I want to send mail, I want to create a new announcement, I'm going to send it to this course instead, and then I can type it in, I can push videos and things like that. In Google Classroom, you go to your stream, all right, you can add a post here, who I want to send it to, I can add things if I want to as well, and I can push it out that way. So you still have the ability to be able to communicate with your students, push out announcements, push out things that you need the kids to have, and you still have the ability to actually talk and communicate with parents, and parents can actually see what is going on. So now we're going to view things from the student end in both of the platforms. So again, to my left is Google Classroom and to my right is Buzz. We'll notice upon logging in both platforms, each student sees a course card that holds courses. Looking at my course card in Google, I can access my Google Drive folder for this, or I can access individual assignments in this. I can also go up to my three dots and I can unenroll myself in the course if I choose to. going up to the upper right, I have the ability to join a class or create a class if my domain has this turned on. In Buzz, however, I have no way to unenroll myself in a course if I don't want to, and I don't have the ability to create a course of my own, which is nice because we're able to keep that to the teachers. In Buzz, however, on my dashboard, I do have access to the to-do list, so I can even look for things that have been assigned to me in search. And I also have my activity stream, which is going to hold any announcements that my teacher has provided me, any grades, feedback, anything like that. To do this in Google Classroom, I would enter the course as a student. There's my stream with my announcements. So they do have, in just different places, they have the to-do list and the activity stream. To-do list on Google Classroom would be over here. In Google Classroom, if my teacher has it turned on, I can share something with the class if I want to. I can even add comments to activities if I choose to, if my teacher has that turned on. In Google Classroom, going into classwork, I'm entering the course now to do work. In Buzz, I click on the play button and I enter my dashboard for my actual course. From my dashboard, I can send mail to my teacher. So if I need to communicate with my teacher, I can. So I can still send them a comment and I can still send them an email. In Buzz, however, I can take notes as well as a student. So I can go up and I can take notes on this. And then I can save it. If I need to go out to see the rest of my classes, I can go home and I can go to my other classes. Same thing in Google, I go up to my 3 lines, I go to classes, and I can view the rest of my classes. On the dashboard too in Buzz, if I need to, my teacher, if he or she has assigned me badges, I will be able to see the badges, and I have access to be able to see my grades, and I can also know how much time I've actually been spending in this course. Below, my teacher has the ability to be able to turn on an agenda so they can provide me hyperlinks directly to websites that I'm supposed to be using for that day, or directly to assignments within the platform itself that they want me to go to extremely quickly. You're going to notice in Google Classroom, the stream is kind of disorganized because it's going by time and it's going by the date. To enter classwork in Google Classroom, I click on classwork in the above. In Buzz, it's all down below, so I can see what I last visited and what's coming up next. I can switch between my quarters if my teacher has this turned on, and I can also search for specific assignments. So let's look at how easy it is to do those Google assignments where each student gets their own copy. In my Google Classroom, here is my assignment and I'm going to click View. In Buzz, here's my assignment and I'm going to click it to enter it. So here are my instructions above that I'm supposed to do. Here are my instructions in Google Classroom. To enter this document where it says my work, which is my submission, which is here in Buzz, I'm going to click the template. In Buzz, I'm going to go down below and I'm going to click on Create an Attachment from the template. So in Google Classroom, it opens it up in a new tab. All right, and I'm able to start working on this. So I'm typing in it and going. In Buzz, it makes a copy. As a student, I have the ability to be able to go out to a new tab, open this up, and then I can start doing the same thing. Difference between the two screens. You're going to notice in the Google Classroom edition, I have a turn-in button here, and in Buzz, I don't. Because in Buzz, what they're going to do is they're simply going to click out of the tab and then go down here and submit work. They also have the ability to be able to leave notes for their teacher. be able to insert video or audio as well, up to 3 minutes. They can link out to things, and then they can also insert their own tables. And then once they're done, they're going to press submit the work. In Classroom, I'm going to click turn in. It's going to take me back to Classroom. All right, I'm going to turn in the work. I'm going to say, yep, I am. And now if I need to leave an instruction for my teacher, I can leave my instruction or my note here. You're going to notice though, they don't have the toolbar that they did in Buzz with the camera and everything. It's simply just, I'm going to click it in. In Google as well, they have the right and the ability to unsubmit work that they've done, where in Buzz, they have the ability to delete it and then redo it. So very similar experiences for students in the Google sharing of the document with the teacher. In Buzz, again, I can take notes on this assignment if I want to. And I can save it. And then I also have the ability to go directly to all of my notes, and then I can see all of my notes that I've been taking in my course. In Google Classroom, sorry, I can leave a comment to my class, I can leave a comment to my teacher, and then I'm going back out to my classwork. So I have to click out and then go back to my classwork in order to be able to do it. All right, in Google Classroom, when I'm going to look for a quiz, it's going to come in the form of a, it's going to come into the form of a Google form, sorry. When I take a quiz in Buzz, all right, it's a little different. So when I go to my midterm, I can open it. My teacher's given me instructions. Same thing you would be able to do in the Google form. When I click continue, you're going to notice I have a few more tools that may not be available to me when I'm looking at a Google form. So right within my platform, I have the ability to highlight. I have the ability to do an answer eliminator. I have the ability to take notes on questions. And I can also bookmark my questions if I need to, okay? And then I can save and exit. Where with a Google form, I have to have extensions of some kind on my Chromebook already to be able to do any of those things within Classroom. So here's my Nearpod experience there. And in Buzz, here's my Nearpod experience. So in Google Classroom, I have to click on this. It's going to take me out into another tab in order to view the Nearpod lesson, where in my classroom here in Buzz, it's going to load right within my platform. So again, my Nearpod is loading. In Buzz, I can actually click on notes again, and I can take notes on my Nearpod. And I can save it. Where in Classroom, again, I would need to have some kind of an extension or something in order to be able to do that. All right, so I'd have to open up here, and then this is just going to take me through there. I really have no way of being able to take notes right within that platform. And then I can just exit out in Buzz, and I go right back to my activity sheets. So really those are the main differences between the two platforms for teachers and for students.